Hello. It's so good to be here with all of you today. I'm Julianne Applegate with SEDDI, and we are here with SEDDI Decorator and our collaborators. And today's webinar is for creating a digital foundation for decorative apparel, which is what we have all been doing here together. A little bit about SEDDI. SEDDI's been in business for over 8 years. We are leaders in fashion and retail apparel because of our expertise in modeling fabrics and other materials in 3D, and because of our patented capabilities like True Seams, where we actually model sewn garments exactly as they're made in production. We have lots of customers, and we've got wonderful customers here today. So before we jump in, I want to have everyone say a little bit about themselves. So I'm going to go in the order in which we started working together. So first up, Corey Crawford from Gildan.
Thank you, Julianne. Happy to be here with you guys today. So, hello, everybody. My name is Corey Crawford. I'm Director of Design at Gildan. I've been with Gildan about 13 years, and I've held various roles in design and development leadership. But over the last 6 or 7 years specifically, I've been pretty heavily focused on digital product creation, 3D, and just how we are incorporating technology into our development processes to drive efficiencies. My role has evolved slightly. I would say that right now I kind of sit at the intersection of product design, merchandising, marketing, but with a heavy emphasis on technology integration to drive process innovation, realize efficiency, improve sustainability, and just reduce friction overall in our processes. So really happy to be here with you guys today and look forward to the conversation.
Awesome. And Bruce Braden, tell us about yourself, sir.
Hi, I am one of the owners of Kong Screen Printing. We're based in Austin, Texas. We're an apparel decorator, as is known in the industry, with screen printing, embroidery, and promo goods that we use. We've been in business for about 15 years, and I'm excited to be here. We've been a customer of Decorator and really love it, and are excited to talk about it.
Thanks for being with us here and for being with us the last year. Couldn't have
Yeah.
done it without either of you. And now Daniel Morgan.
Yeah.
I've only just met you, and I've really enjoyed learning about your role with Gildan.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. So my name is Daniel Morgan. I'm on the customer engagement team at Gildan. I've been with Gildan about 3 years. But prior to working at Gildan, I worked in a print shop in Fort Worth, Texas for 10 years in a number of different roles. So I've been around the industry for a long time. And now with Gildan, my role is really to just be that kind of bridge between the customer, the screen printer or decorator or promo company, and Gildan. So I show our product and I help find solutions for customers and then gather market data and feedback and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about the digital impact on all that.
And what's your territory that you cover? What
Yeah, so I
region?
cover Texas and Oklahoma for Gildan. I'm on a team of, I guess, 11 people now, kind of strategically located around the U.S. to try to cover as many people as we possibly can. So
Got it. And since you're in Texas and Bruce is in Texas, then there you go.
there you go.
Yeah, you've been to our shop before.
Many times, yes.
Yeah.
I so wanted to go to your shop for your anniversary party, which looked so cool, Bruce. Like it was, I
Thanks.
mean, the community, like it was just flooded the place, and it was kind of interesting to see what's really, a manufacturing space turned into a place for people to gather and party and
Yeah.
do live decoration, right?
Yeah, we had some fun activations with live screen printing and live heat press, which we've never done before, which was a huge hit. And then we had an artist do a live mural painting for us as well. And it was just a ton of fun to kind of switch over the space from production to party. Had a lot of our customers in, a lot of just general people from the community that heard about it and had a great time.
Yeah. All right. Next time I'm gonna get the plane
Yeah.
ticket and be there.
Come on down.
Yeah.
We'll have
Yeah.
a party just for you coming.
Well, I definitely owe you a keg of beer, so that's one way to get that.
Exactly.
Bruce does a lot of favors for me and the SEDDI team, and we like to think that we return the favor. So I guess high level, what is it that we are doing here? SEDDI saw an opportunity several years back, having learned more about decorated apparel, for the work that we were doing with fashion and retail apparel. It came to our team's attention that it was really tough for teams. You've got this great artwork, but then the ability to communicate, whether that's a production technical specification or even just a conversation to say, hey, this is the artwork and this is the right size to put it at exactly this placement on a garment. And then beyond that, humans come in all different sizes and shapes, right? So at that point, now I need to do that on several sizes. And it turns out that there was a lot of friction in the day-to-day processes between art teams and production teams that are going to be doing the actual printing or embroidering or whatever else. But really, it was a problem for communication throughout the entire process, whether it's a large contract decorator who has a large customer at a PPD who's, all of these folks are super experienced and they're making and ordering this stuff day in, day out. And none of them seem to really be able to be clear about size, scale, placement. And in your line of work, Bruce, or like you've been doing, Daniel, as far as closer to the actual end customer, where it might be a local business or sports team or just somebody's, bridal shower, whatever that is, to go to those people and to say, well, just imagine how this art's going to look. Like that was just a complete disconnect. So we found out that, okay, that this is somewhere where we can help. We've got some expertise. We can actually model garments in 3D. We can model them in every size. And with that, it's a unique capability to basically have a what you see is what you get experience that was really just a mystifying guess, even for the best trained professionals. So to do that, we had a really kind of fun chicken and the egg kind of dilemma, which is, why would Bruce want to talk to me because I can model garments? Like he needs to know that he can go and grab, the Comfort Colors 1717, which we had ready for you when we spoke to you the first time. But then I didn't have the 60/30 with the pocket, right? Is that the one with
Yeah.
the pocket?
It is, yes.
I remember.
Nice
Okay.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. So to get this thing going, that's why I met Corey first, because it wasn't I would just have been telling you an interesting story way back then, Bruce, without Corey and his team. So we were able to work with our blank brand partners like Gildan. And frankly, because you are an ahead of the curve visionary person who like got it from the beginning. It just all clicked for you. And you were like, let's go. And I really appreciate that, because while we keep things as light as possible for our blank brand partners, there is a little bit of work and it is a little bit different. And it wasn't for your team necessarily to use, even though now you're also a customer for our fashion and retail apparel 3D tools. So it's great having you all around. So the process was pretty simple. It was like, okay, let us build your blank styles in 3D. Thank you for being our hero and champion with your team. So we started with 6 of your styles, and I will get you a count of just how many styles and SKUs we're at now. It's a lot. It's a lot. So with that, now we have over 75,000 SKUs in the decorator library, every, styles and every size and every color. And they can be used by decorators and their end customers and production teams and everyone in the industry. So, all right, Corey, what really got your attention about what would change, what would be different, and why you said to your team, "Hey, team, let's do this."
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I guess throughout our digital product creation journey at Gildan, one of the things we learned very early on is that we need to establish a really good foundation of, those foundational elements that make you successful at digital product creation. One of those being digital materials, right? And so early on, that was a pretty big hurdle for us. We got a lot of fabrics, we got a lot of fibers, we got a lot of compositions. And so I think that's kind of where our relationship started, Julianne, with SEDDI, is you and I met, and that was the first need you guys were able to take on for us, was helping us establish processes for digital material creation and digitizing fabrics. And that slowly has evolved into being able to create our full catalog in 3D blanks and in accurate colors and accurate stitching and styling. And I think that's one of the things that I've appreciated most about working with you guys is just the attention to detail and the accuracy and the care that you give to being sure those digital models are true, accurate reflections of the product inside of the box. And I think that's really that trust is really what this entire thing hinges on. If it's not accurate, it's going to be very hard for Bruce and other decorators to leverage the platform properly. And so, I think that was for me was very important from the beginning.
Excellent. And we as a team in doing our blank creation process with you have truly appreciated the level of detail, attention, time, care to ensure quality and accuracy of your products. And folks who are listening, one of my fun fact statistics here is that Gildan for some time has been approximately at least 1% of all apparel bought and sold around the globe every year. And to have that resting in the hands of one team, there's a lot of responsibility for sustainability. You guys also do that, frankly, at a really competitive price point, and you do it consistently. And as you know, my background, I'm a fashion designer. I've worked in fashion design and technology. I do both, have done that all along in my career. But as a designer and having worked with the factories and done the product development and done the quality assurance, the scale of what you're able to do and to deliver consistently is frankly the key reason that Gildan is at this table, right? Because the
No,
entire
we
industry relies on your
Yeah, and
products.
no, and we appreciate that, and that's honestly one of the things that I've always really respected about Gildan. We obviously have a very strong portfolio of brands, but to be able to be a low cost, vertically integrated manufacturer and to operate at the scale at which we operate and be cost effective, be able to drive quality, be able to drive printability, um, availability, and product innovation, and all of those things. So, those are all reasons that I think Gildan is a smart choice for decorators like Bruce and others. But one of the things that I think about a lot and that we talk about a lot internally is what are other ways we can reduce friction for decorators. And I think technology, especially lately, has been one of those kind of frontiers where we have the ability to make a real impact. And thanks to you guys and the products that you're building and the services that you're providing, it allows us to do that, to your point, at scale. I think for us to kind of tackle that project internally just with our own resources would have been truly overwhelming. I mean, we do have a lot of digital capabilities, but a lot of those resources are tied up in current developments or future developments. And so to be able to kind of pause and build our catalog of products and do it, like I said, accurately with correct color and with correct materials, that would have been a monumental task. But to be able to partner with somebody like SEDDI to be able to execute on that and make that available, that was really important to us.
Thank you. And the process has been fantastic with you guys. Now, to be fair, we do have a little extra muscle that most teams don't have. SETI's founded with a science and research team. We've got over a dozen PhDs who are behind our patents, and we've built some pretty cool automations in-house to be able to do this lift that didn't exist until we tackled, you know, building all of the blanks for this industry. So, and we learned a lot since we did your first 6 styles. Whoa, have we learned a lot. And one of Bruce's favorite things to say, anytime we can automate the bullshit out of things, I've got, science and researchers who are ready to go, whoa, 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 let's do this the smart way. So, and I've got a flip side of the coin for you, Daniel, but before we go there, because I know if you want to mull it over for just a moment, I'm getting from Corey all the good stuff, all the accuracy and everything else, but you talk to the customers every day, so you hear everything. So I'm going to get a totally different picture from you. And, because you're having to take on these requests, consolidate them. So give that a thought for a moment. So Bruce, did you really need technology when we met? Some people get scared of technology. Some people are like, we know what we're doing. Somebody coming in going, oh no, you're going to use this technology. What about this clicked for you? Clearly you're also an early adopter. You're very
Sure.
visionary, but you're pretty pragmatic. I mean, it wasn't a one and done with. You really made sure to dial it in for it to make sense for you
Yeah, I mean,
from the
I
start.
would say pragmatic much more so than visionary. But um like, because for us it's a very unique specific need of being able to as closely as possible communicate to our customer what their end product is going to look like. Corey, you talked about reducing friction with people like us. Like, our job is to then to reduce friction to our customers as well. And anything that is going to present a question when the customer gets their proofs is something that can create ripples down the line of other questions in production, or the potential for something to turn out different than what the customer is expecting. So the closer we can align what we're going to make with what their expectations are, the better experience it's going to be for our team and for the customer. Up until me discovering Decorator, we didn't have a good way to do that. And up until Decorator existed in general, like, our industry didn't have a good way to do that. There was a lot of guesswork involved in creating a digital mock-up to present to the customer to approve. And different people were guessing in different ways. And to find a way that made it a standard and consistent across people and teams and places uh, was really enlightening, and really piqued my interest in what kind of led me down the path of talking with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought we might have something that would help folks out. Yeah.
Technology adoption in general is not always the first thing that people think of in our industry. Um, but there's certainly a lot of young people coming into the industry that are on top of that. And that's just kind of the natural place for them to start. So for somebody who's been in it for a while and is a little bit older, feel like we've got to like stay ahead of that to remain competitive, for our business and what we do. Like, I joke a lot about there's a song by LCD Sound System called "I'm Losing My Edge," and like
Yes.
a lyric in there is like, the kids are coming up from behind, and that is always kind of in the back of my head of like, all right, we got to stay ahead of what the kids are doing, because
Yeah.
they're coming up and they're gonna like surpass us. So
One of the things I love about what we're able to offer is it's purpose built for this industry. We don't build anything in a vacuum. And we even before we met you, we have other folks that we did tech pilots with, like the folks over at Liquid Graphics, and that was Corey, you'll understand that was out of our other platforms. So they were looking at things that were really complicated, cut and sew, 3D modeling applications there with us. But from there, it was like, what do you do day in, day out? And what problem are we solving? Right. And, then we had to go build a bunch of stuff. And especially we had to build the library. That's the foundation of this to win their business. And it's great to have them as customers now. And we're still iterating and evolving with them every day. And one of the fun things, though, about kids and like the technology that's going on is so many people, young and old, are just going, oh, well, let AI do it. Oh, let AI do it. And I love that we have something that is as fast and easy as oh, we'll let AI do it. But it's not AI. It's not AI at all. And it's actually repeatable and elevates your presentation. And you don't have to say things like, okay, but this time I don't want 7 fingers. It's like, and there's no AI out there that can get you anything like what we have. So, Daniel, with your Comfort Colors shirt here, is,
yeah.
like one of our unique capabilities is point of measure placement accuracy. And that's done whether young or old folks, whomever, whether you actually are putting that in that you want that exactly 3 inches down from the collar, or whether you're just visualizing it and it looks right, that accuracy is built in behind everything. because Corey's team's awesome. They literally get me the sewing patterns that they use in production. They get me their tech packs and the detail. All right, folks, the way Gildan ensures this accuracy, I hope I'm not spilling the beans too much, but literally there's a change log in there for every style in their production tech packs. And I can tell you that in 2002 and Q3, there was a change only at that particular factory in Honduras. Like that level of detail, the history of it and the care and intentionality is huge. But I want to hear from Daniel. Tell us about your role. So you're out there, you're working with decorators. I want to circle back to how somebody could have your team come visit them if that's not happening already. But what are the kinds of requests that you get? And I love how this closes the whole loop, right? So you're hearing from the customers, that's going to go back to Corey, that's going to suggest the customers need this, and then he gets a new problem to solve of how do we do that efficiently, and everybody's kind of going end to end here about this is going to remove this friction and basically help Bruce and his customers. So what do you hear in the field?
Yeah, I think for Gildan, we're a big company, right? And we do things on a very big scale. And the same thing often for decorators, right? It's easy to get into the rhythm of your kind of day-to-day operation and your printing, and you've got your measurements and you have this flow that you're really used to. But it's really important, and from my own experience as a screen printer too, to step back and remember that the person who's buying this shirt to wear the shirt is not an expert in t-shirts, more than likely, right? What they are is they have a cool idea for a shirt, or they see a shirt that they really like and they want to wear it because they want to represent that brand or whatever the case is. And so as close as we can get to them being able to confidently buy a shirt and love it at the end is really the goal. And so, as little guesswork as you can make the end user do, really goes a long way for satisfied customers on the back end. And so, print shops go through all kinds of crazy hoops to try to make sure that their customers aren't guessing. Gildan provides a pretty deep catalog of digital assets, whether that's model photography or flat photography or whatever the case might be. And we also provide measurements and all that. But to the end user, a lot of that just becomes kind of noise, right? And so if they have their art and they see a digital mock-up, what they see is what their brain immediately interprets as this is what I'm getting, right? And so for a print shop, most print shops are having to do quite a bit of guesswork. They'll take a model photo and they'll compare it to the measurements and they'll say, well, we said we're going to put the art 3 inches down from the bottom of the collar. This looks like it's about 3 inches down from the bottom of that collar, but the model in that photo is turned slightly. So we're also going to have to skew the art and hope that that didn't throw off our 3-inch thing, right? And so every single one of those little variables creates uncertainty in the end user. So a lot of what I run into day to day is print shops just begging for less variability. They want either digital versions, or they want photo versions, or they want our reassurances that measurements are correct, or they're just trying to eliminate variables and points of guessing so that their customer can be really confident in the end result. Which is where I think this product from SEDDI is such a game changer, in that being able to accurately represent a t-shirt digitally and like turn it and say like, oh, this is where the art is on a shirt that's an XL. What if a customer only orders XL t-shirts because they're going to go on every seat at some sporting event? Like doing a mock-up on a size small, if every shirt is going to be an XL, doesn't actually accurately represent what the customer is needing. And so being able to represent the size of an actual garment is such a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely for us. Well, we get a lot of customers ordering, youth all the way through adult triple XL, and not understanding that it's going to look really big on the youth and really small on the triple XL, and being able to show them what the actual size of the print is going to be in relation to all those different sizes really helps sink in of like, oh, well, I need to adjust my expectations of what I'm ordering, or I need to make one size for the youth and one size for the adult. Before that happened, with a lot of conversation and us trying to explain and help them see in their head what that's going to look like. it was really easy then to send them the output from decorator of this is what it's going to look like across all the sizes to cut out that conversation and that misunderstanding totally.
Now, Bruce, that's one side of that problem, but didn't you also have a problem internally with that exact same problem and your production crew? Because your production crew, they got the T-shirt, they're, putting palette, and then they got the artwork, and how many times were they calling you and going, "I don't know about this. Are you sure you wanna do" so you might have already had a really thorough conversation. Can you talk us through, like, all right, why was that kind of stuff happening and how's
Y-
this helped?
yeah, absolutely. So like we train our team to really think about what the customer's going to get. If there's any red flags in the process of, hey, I think this is going to be different than their expectation, they know to stop and come and ask and double check. It's much easier to take a few minutes to stop and confirm and double check something than it is to print 200 shirts that the customer's going to open up and say, this isn't exactly what I was expecting. So we would run into the guesswork mock-ups of in the mock-up that the customer approved, the design looks really big on the front. But on the actual shirts they were going to get, the design was much smaller on the front. And so our production team would stop and they'd say, hey, is this right? And sometimes it was, and other times it wasn't. We'd have to go back and redo the screens, redo the approvals, redo the art. And either way, it created unnecessary hiccups in our production process. Sometimes they were big, sometimes they were small. But since we've started using Decorator, our production team can be confident that what we're printing matches the relationship of the mockup, and it's what the customer approved and what they're going to expect. And so it just removes that question and that hiccup in our production team entirely.
Early in my design career, I was at an event and the CEO of Liz Claiborne was speaking. Story for another day. I met with him a year ago about custom fit and 3D and bespoke apparel, and that was an interesting conversation. And early on in my fashion technology journey, I've learned a lot since. We're still solving problems that we were talking about back then. But one of the things he talked about was, hey, designers, I need you guys to hear this. You want to put a fancy button on a sport coat because you think it's cool and it's on trend, but stop it. It's not for you. It's not for you. Any little embellishment that you put on there, you've got to do the you know, wholesale retail math to understand and to be able to connect with understanding who your customer is and that they're actually going to want to pay an extra $20 for that item just because you put a neat button on it. So that's a reality of what we all do when in making and designing apparel. And Gildan and your brands, right? A large part of this is really managing this cost because at the end of the day, you're at the very beginning of this, and there has to be enough value that someone's going to get, whether it's at an event or for sports teams or in an e-com store, wherever it is. Once there's somebody who's gone to Bruce and said, okay, let's do this decoration, they're going to want to pay the money to have that item. And Daniel, I can only imagine, can you tell us a little bit about what you're hearing in the market with this and how you make that opportunity continually be available for the community to get the value that they need? How does Gildan support that?
Yeah, Corey touched on it earlier. Gildan goes through just an incredibly rigorous process to make sure that our costs are super competitive, right? Like we have the scale to support it. And every step of the process, we are combing with the finest tooth comb to make sure that we are cutting out all the fat we can in order to pass as much value on as possible. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, right, there are a number of people involved in this process. Like it's a big industry with a lot of steps. And for decorators to succeed, they have to have room to continue to provide value to their customers as well. And so for us, it's really important to have really effective cost profile that allows for all of that room. And, I think we do a great job of that. And
Yeah.
our decorator partners, I think, show that in their continued use of our products. I think it is an honor from my perspective. It's an honor when I get to walk into a print shop and I ask them, hey, like what are your go-to shirts? And they're like, oh, the Gildan 5000. That's my shirt. I love it. Our customers are always happy with it. We love printing on it. The cost makes sense. Like that is such a cool thing to hear day in and day out from printers, and it's an honor, and we don't take that lightly. So
And just tagging onto that, I mean, I think one of the things that always really impresses me. I mean, obviously we've got a really strong portfolio of brands, but we have an incredible merchandising and product team. And one of the things that I always kind of observe is hear them talking about the why, right? The why. Who's using this? Who is it for? And kind of that differentiation between the portfolio of, hey, this product and this brand is for this end use. This product and this brand is for that end use. So there's so much consideration and deliberation about the why and who these products are for and driving that value and making sure that we have those different angles covered. And so the team does an incredible job with that. And then for me to be able to then on the back end of that kind of digitize that and make it available in a completely different way and bring a different angle to the value proposition. I just think it's a really cool experience. And it's kind of why we're all here today.
Yeah, what drives these why decisions for you and your customers, Bruce? I mean, thousands and thousands of options out there that are distributed by all the big distributors or, that come to you directly, say companies like AS Color who, work really closely with their customers. So this choice in the why, like what's going on there? Um,
Sure.
Especially with when we get to Gildan specifically or one brand versus another that Gildan has.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the customer whys are typically around budget or use and what they're going to be doing with it. What we found in the past 18 months is that talking about the wide variety of products and price points that Gildan has, um, there's something for budget-minded people on the 5000 and the soft style. But a big growth in our customer base has been retail customers who are using the stuff we make for them as a source of revenue, whether it's a coffee shop with a really curated merchandise program or a brewery or something that are using what we make for them as an additional source of revenue beyond what their primary thing is. The go-to choice for them over the past 18 months has been the comfort colors, whether it's the pocket tee or just the regular, because they know that their customers will buy that, and it's a really good quality product. It's something that is very trendy right now. The boxy cut, the wash colors that everybody knows, and so it's nice to be able to have options to cover whatever the why for our customer is and be able to deliver that to them.
Yeah, I love that so much. So now I'm really getting this clear picture that so often it's a small business, right? And another thing that Gildan does in just an all-around way, which is what you have to do in this industry, is if you think about the distribution of these items. And gosh, this industry is so big that there's like no one standalone company who's just going to own it and go do it all by themselves. It just doesn't work that way, right? So Gildan, for instance, you guys have your own wholesale distribution direct to your customers, but at the same time, you distribute with all the distributors. And somehow at the end of the day, because your coffee shop probably doesn't want to go overseas and do a custom cut and sew program with the factory because they don't want thousands of units, right? You're making it possible for a small business to get a meaningful amount of assortment, which can be replenished. And that when it is replenished, right, and they want to add to that assortment, it's not like it's going to be a different dye lot and mismatch. You've got to have that consistency. And it's brilliant. They're getting people to pay them for that. And then people are paying to wear like a little mini community, I love this place billboard, which then people ask them about it. So there's a whole story selling thing that's going on here. And that requires good design too. And that's really where your community gets to shine, is both the design with the clients and then the craftsmanship to put out quality items that tell stories and connect people.
yeah, and just to touch on that because you brought up the design component, right? Like we're here to talk about digital. And the reality is the industry is moving more and more digital, both in the day-to-day interaction with customers, but also in the end decoration of t-shirts, right? So direct to garment is a much bigger thing these days. Direct to film is a much bigger thing these days, right? And so, there are huge decorators in the US and there are small decorators in the US, individuals working out of the garage, but all of them are realizing that the industry has shifted to this much more digital, much more on demand method where it makes the digital representation of our products online even more important than they've ever been. Because I think the historical way for shops to or brands to manage their portfolio of designs would be, okay, let's come up with our line of designs for next year, and we'll get them printed, and we'll have inventory of them, and then when people order them, we'll go find that from the inventory, and we'll put it in a bag and send it to them. But nowadays, these online brands, they'll put 200 designs up on a website, and not a single one of them has been printed yet. And then they let the market tell them what it wants to buy, and only after it's been bought are they doing the decoration. And so, more than ever, like I was saying before, the digital representation of that is so important that it's right, because it's extremely expensive to have customers buying and then returning products all the time, especially if it was printed for that person. And so, having an accurate representation of our goods digitally is paramount there. And
Yeah.
it's a
One
cool
of the
opportunity. It's a really cool opportunity as the industry shifts to really be on the forefront of making sure that our presence in the digital space is rock solid.
Yeah, one of the things we hear from the market is everyone's like, "Oh, great. I can make a huge e-com store and we'll get paid for what we're doing and they'll just roll in." And so many teams, it's like actually kind of a black hole. Like they put it out there and then the
Hmm.
order comes in and then they're chasing their tail because now they've got to do the size, scale, placement, accuracy
Yeah,
thing. And to your point, they mocked it up on a image that was a size small, and this person ordered the 3XL.
right.
So now you're in a situation where it really isn't a great opportunity because you're not getting to call when you do the work, and now somebody's ordered it and you've got to go do the setup, and you're eating away at your margin every order that comes in if you're doing it how most teams are doing it. Whereas in SEDDI Decorator, all of the sizes were built all at the same time to begin with, and they can even be done as a batch creation process. Right, Bruce? You can go from one to many, and it doesn't just have to be a bunch of colorways of tees. Although, sure, if somebody wants every colorway of the 1717, it's not a problem for you to do that. But you
Yep.
could also add in other options and quarter zips and hoodies or even a tote bag.
Yeah, for sure. And to touch on something that you kind of mentioned in that is like the customer getting it being different than their expectations and what was represented digitally online. And in the best case scenario, what Daniel mentioned is like they return it, right? The worst case scenario is that they're just not happy with it and they don't ever order from you again. So in either of those scenarios, it's not great. And again, the closer you can bridge the gap between what they're expecting and what they're going to get, the better it is for the customer and the better it is for you. And you can do that with Decorator really accurately.
Daniel, did folks ever just, with all your hands-on experience, do you ever get to a shop and someone's like, "Hey, buddy, can you help me out?" And just I'm sure they must pick your brain for ideas all the time because you're hearing all of the problems everybody's facing every day, and then it's kind of like a bee spreading pollen. You've got all the good stuff, right?
Yeah, we get all kinds of crazy requests. And at the end of the day, every shop is gonna have their own pet project that they want us to solve. And the nice thing is we've got a really big portfolio of brands. And so in one of our brands, whether that's Gildan or Comfort Colors or American Apparel or Hanes or Champion, like we're probably going to have a good solution for a project that a customer needs. We have enough breadth and coverage in stylistically, but also price points that we can usually find a nice sweet spot. But it can be hard because there's so much. It can be hard to know really where to look. And so that's really what my team is for, is to help decorators and their customers really find the right solution for their projects as they come.
Where to look, that's a great way to put it because certainly without decorator, what I hear is every time an order comes in, most teams have to go, okay, where do I look for that image?
Hmm.
Ooh, do I like this image? Oh, maybe someone, and you guys certainly know that you've got your own imagery that you make, and then other team has their version of the image for your stuff too. So there are a lot of places a person can
Hmm.
go and look. How's that been for you, Bruce, as far as before finding the images and reconciling consistency and now having the decorator library?
Yeah, it's just a lot of time for our team to go to one website, get photography, and then decide, oh, you know what, it's not very good. I got to go to this other website and get photography, and then I got to download it. I got to upload it into Illustrator, and then place the artwork somewhere on there and guess the size. It's a lot of time, and it's a lot of repetitive time, because for every design that we're doing, and every placement on a shirt, we've got to do that. And so over the course of a day, that can be hours for a person doing. Whereas in decorator, it's just all there, and the designs size, where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be, and where they're supposed to be, and they're placed across all the different regions where they need to go without having to visit multiple websites. Try to get photography lighting to match up with different photos, and make sure that the color of the shirts is accurately represented.
Color. There's a favorite topic. Everyone here in this group, and probably everyone who has any reason to be with us today listening, you love it, but it's complicated. It's absolutely complicated. And one of the things that partnering with Gildan and other blank brand partners that we have to take care of first and foremost is getting color right. You guys are serious about getting color right so that, that product shows up consistently on reorders, no matter which factory it's coming from. And with that, we have a digital color standard that we've worked on with your team, right? And that is something that is now repeatable as you introduce new styles, or at times you've got to change color. Something's not possible with a formulation, and SEDDI's in a position now to be able to help with that versioning and also kind of help reduce some of that confusion. What kind of standardization is needed for the industry? Bruce, you're mentioning that you've got different photography styles, so now it's not just grabbing the image and making the visual by putting the artwork on there. It's like, well, how do I make these things not look like one's from Mars and one's is from Jupiter? It does seem that on the production side of things, Corey's team's got every standard you can imagine, right? And we speak that language as far as, ISO seam types and all of that. But why is it so hard for this industry to standardize, especially given that I know how much our blank brand partners are owning standards internally to achieve what they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because it's a lot of small businesses spread out. It's everywhere from somebody in their garage to giant, VC funded corporations, right? And to get all those people on board with something is really tough. So I think that type of standardization has been tough for our industry to achieve, just because of the breadth of people that are involved.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, is it fair to say that having the decorator library where that same level of quality assurance and care is being provided to all our blank partners, right? It's like you're happy to have the standard. It's just not fair to ask you guys to do that with everything else you're doing. I mean, literally, I was on a meeting with your friend Kurt up in Chicago, and he had to pick up the call because, somebody had stepped out to the freight dock for something else. And literally, like, the volume of information he went through with a customer who was just first time calling in. I mean, font of knowledge, and also, I don't think he would say that he's a patient man, but he was very patient in that call with it wasn't 20 questions. I mean, it was just like it's amazing everything you have to do. So it's like the industry just needs some help with the standardization because it's so colossal. Like, what can be in the middle of all of this where it's intelligent and repeatable and also intentional? right? To carry through with the intentionality of what Gildan and other technical design and production teams are doing day in, day out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this is kind of an important thing as far as SEDDI's consistent as to how we work with all our customers and whether it's fashion and retail part of the industry or with the decoration aspect of the industry. I guess first and foremost, being built in a cloud native platform running in Chrome and then not needing heavy equipment like you need for your other 3D tools, right, Corey? It's exciting to be part of what's coming because nothing like this has existed before. This is a collaboration space and a communication space because it's not just built for one person and it's not just built for one team. It's a place for how the industry really works. So we have endless unlimited view comment participants. And then with that, teams are able to collaborate from any location. And actually, those who are fully subscribed and are in our editor roles, they can work together in collections or specific garments together on a rolling basis. So they don't have to be in the same building, much less they don't have to be on the same continent to collaborate. So a contract decorator can be working with the manager for a band that's going on tour, and likewise teams where externally somebody's got their artist for that local business. Some teams have those folks like, okay, join us in Decorator here. You can try it out now. And then you've got a unique experience where someone's been able to come in and try it out for themselves. They feel like they're more part of that creativity because it's so fluid. And I don't know. I think they buy more, when they're able to feel like they're a little bit of the sauce, but you're still there as an expert and a designer and, also advising just at the end of the day, what's good merch, right?
No, it really is true though. Yeah, to your point, none of this really works without the collaboration, right? I mean, it takes technology providers like yourself, it takes brands, it takes feedback from Bruce and printers and decorators to really elevate and create an opportunity for the entire market, for the entire just the way we go about working. So it's cool to be a part of.
Yeah. Just to round this out, what do you think is next for the industry? What's something that you're excited about with technology? What's coming?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, I honestly don't know either. I mean, that crystal ball would be amazing to have, but I think one of the things I've learned in my role, Julianne, is just in researching emerging technologies, and I mean the evolution of obviously AI and how quickly it's advancing, and I mean literally daily there are new things. There's a lot of automation and robotics and things like that. So who knows what's next, but there is definitely a shift more to Daniel's point, more to a digital kind of world and digital front end, and I think early adopters will find success and find a competitive advantage. So that's one of the things we're constantly looking at is just what's coming and how does that again impact the work that we do daily, but also downstream, how does it affect our partners and ultimately our customers. So
Yeah, appreciate the work that you do there. Corey's on my short list of when I want to know what's going on in the industry. I get him on the phone. Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
being there. And anything you're excited about, Daniel?
Something that I've kind of seen, and maybe this is anecdotal more than it is prescriptive for the whole industry, but I feel like the fashion trend cycle has sped up enough that as opposed to the whole industry moving from one thing to the next, it's kind of moving in all directions at once, which
Hmm.
maybe is chaotic. It is chaotic in some ways, and it can be hard to really find the right answers. But it's also cool because it means that there's a lot of opportunity in a lot of directions for like our brands and the styles that we're making and the ways that decorators are going about their business, because it's much more niche focused rather than
Hmm.
trying to capture the whole audience all at once. um, and I think that does feed into the print on demand, closer to the consumer mindset of finding that group of people who are excited about what you're making, and then really just providing them that product or that service that they're looking for. and eliminating as many steps along the way so that you can really get close and quick to respond.
Yeah. In my experience, when there are a lot of options and where you're saying like it's a little bit chaotic, two things that never get old: authenticity and quality. At the end of the day, there's a lot of paralysis by analysis if I have all these options. So what do folks do? They go with the good stuff that they know. Yeah.
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 I mean, I think going back to the technology piece of the conversation, like it's really important in a lot of aspects and ways of like getting on board and adopting the new technology. But the focus of that kind of, at least for us, has to remain like the people element and the human element and the ways that we connect with our customers. Because as technology and AI is more pervasive all around all the time, like people are looking for that connection because it's more rare. And the more that you can keep that central to what you do, the better off you're going to be as a business and as a person.
Yeah. I for one, really value that today we work with a technology that is authentic, accurate, and that is not just something where it's going into the AI black box and, who knows what's going to come out. And then when that code gets updated, how that will change. Where we have a team that is truly committed to accurate, quality digital representations, a true digital twin, if you will. And I think that brings a lot of value when there's a lot of chaos and noise, right? Yeah, thank you all for your insights here. It's been a fantastic conversation, and in many ways one that's been both a long time coming, as far as takes more than a minute to build over 75,000 SKUs digitally, but also, it feels very recent because Decorator's only been available since pretty much towards the end of last year. This is a new product, and we are excited to continue to collaborate with our customers like you, Bruce, and all the new customers coming our way to do something completely different. And that's just delightful and fun compared to how you've been doing things before. So thank you for making the time, and thank you for helping us make the library. And let's go do more. Let's get back at it, folks.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate